Alright, what's up guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Security. In this video, we're going to be covering a bit of a dense one here. This is going to be port 53 DNS. Now, once again here, we're going to start with the lowest of the low-hanging fruit. We were able to fingerprint a version, it looks like here. So let's just start, because we want to be in the habit of, when we get this kind of information, to see what we can get from it. So let's look at the vulnerabilities for this, just sort of at a glance here. It doesn't look like there's anything. Oh, wait a minute, what is this? This is denial of service, so not exactly what we're looking for here. And another way we can do this, I believe, is, we could probably use search exploit and see if there's anything that jumps out at us there. So let's do that. Maybe this. So that was version 942. Yeah, it looks like this is the denial of service. That's never useful for us on CTFs. We're looking for getting shells, of course. And as far as I can tell, these seem to all be denial of service, I do believe. So yeah, it looks like there's nothing that would be too beneficial for us as an attacker that wants to get a shell on the system. So, but yeah, that's just the very lowest of the low-hanging fruit that you always want to look for first, because that's what attackers do. They enumerate as much information and they just keep digging and they find the juiciest thing they can. So most of the time, though, with DNS, I've never actually auto-pwned any DNS and got a shell off it. Normally, I use it for enumeration. Very juicy enumeration at that, though, I must say, because with DNS, typically it runs on UDP, but if you see it running on TCP, not all of the time, but a lot of times, that is a hint that it could be vulnerable to what is called a DNS zone transfer. So that's something we're going to get into here next, because that's definitely the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to DNS. So there are so many freaking ways to do this, to be honest with you. Let me just pull up my notes on the screen here. This might be the easiest way. There's so many different ways to do this. For zone transfers, you can use DNS recon. I'm pretty sure you can do zone transfers with recon NG. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure you can. But no, DNS recon is a separate utility. I don't think that's built into Kali. Let's see. Oh, it is. It is. I didn't test this one, but we can go ahead and run that. But before we do, I just wanted to pull my notes up on the screen to show you just how many freaking ways you can go about doing zone transfers. So you can do it with DNS recon here. You can do it with dig, which is actually my preferred way to do it most of the time, because that is just the way that I've had the most consistency with, I would say. You can also do it with the host command, I believe. Yeah, like this one right here. And then yeah, lastly, you can do it with DNS enum, which is another tool that's built into Kali. So, oh yeah, and nmap scripts as well. So yeah, I'll show you a few ways and I'll help you guys interpret it. We'll step through it together. So not only do you know how to do zone transfers, but you know how to interpret the kind of cryptic output you're going to get from it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do it the dig way. I typically would run dig AXFR and then @ and then our target here, 168.102. So if we do that, we successfully are able to pull off this zone transfer here. And basically what a zone transfer is these are all the records. Essentially, since this is running DNS, this is a DNS server. So what DNS is, if you're not familiar, it's basically just translating IP address to host names. Now, if this was not a box that I just set up on my local network, like if this was, say, OSCP, like an actual environment that's set up with DNS servers and stuff like that, what I would do is I would start with the ns lookup command, and I would run that against the target IP address. Now, it's not going to really come back with anything in our case, because this is just on my local network. I'm literally just hosting it into a NATed network setup here. So because of that, there's nothing here. But if I was doing CTFs, I would start with this command, and it would give me some kind of host name. I'll show you in my notes what it looks like. Like this, for example, here, right? You would see a host name come back. So chronos.htb in this example. And then I would try to perform zone transfers on chronos.htb. And so we were able to get a successful zone transfer. Now let's just sort of break this down and interpret this, because this could look pretty cryptic to the uninitiated. Now, what you need to understand are these letters here. These are important. So there's a number of them, and I pulled up a page that could be helpful here. So let's take a look. So what we're going to be looking at here is A records, which are records that hold IP addresses of domains. And that's just pretty straightforward. It's like all the different IP address domains on the as a part of that zone. And then the CNAME is forwarding to a subdomain. Now, if you can find these in CTFs, this is like normally like pretty lucrative, because, for example, I was doing a hack the box before, and I believe it was this bank.htb one, and I performed a zone transfer on it, and I found some subdomain here, the CNAME, I believe, and this ended up being a entirely different web server that I wouldn't have known about. So we're talking about rabbit holes and low-hanging fruit. Definitely, I would say DNS is a low-hanging fruit if you're able to pull off zone transfers, because imagine this scenario. You are just racking your brain, spending hours trying to figure out how to proceed with a box that has a web server running, and you're just digging through the web server. You're doing all kinds of enumeration on it. You got like dirbuster running, you got SQL map running, you got nmap running, you got all these things enumerating, trying to figure out how you can get a shell on the system, only to find out that the way in is some other subdomain that you didn't even know existed. But if you would have done the zone transfer, you would have seen that there was another subdomain here, and then you would have been able to connect to that subdomain, find this other web server that you didn't even know about, and then easily exploit that web server and get the shell, right? So yeah, if it sounds like I'm speaking from experience, it certainly is. So definitely do not neglect zone transfers. That's an easy way to avoid potential rabbit holes down the line. But it all stems from understanding what these records are. So let's just go back to that and we'll step through. So that's the CNAME record. Think a subdomain, stuff like that, another domain. It's forwarding it to another domain, as it mentions here. MX records, these are for email servers. I don't hardly ever see this one, but I guess this exists. Text notes. NS, these are other DNS servers, name servers. The start of authority here is for admin information. And then these ones are a little bit lesser of importance. There's a pointer and a SRV here. Pointer is, yeah, for reverse lookups. So what a reverse lookup is say that earlier when we used, where is it? Let me just go back. Oh, I guess I closed that window. But earlier when we did NS lookup on the IP address, that's a forward. That's what's known as a forward lookup, going from the IP address to the host name. A reverse lookup is just the opposite. You're going from a host name to an IP address. So if I did NS lookup for some host name, it would come back with an IP address. That's a reverse lookup. So yeah, that's all you got to know there. So with these, right, we got a bunch of these, and just sort of for illustration purposes here, what I can do is I can look up, because this is the host name, the type of record, and then the IP address. So if I take, for example, grootservers.net what I would need to do is I would need to edit my etc host file first. And I've already done that, but basically the way that I would do that is I would just do sudo vim etc host. These are like your local host file. You'll have to modify a lot in CTFs and stuff like that. But I already did that earlier here. I put this in. This wasn't here before, by the way. So I edited this file. I added that IP address it gave and the host name. I add that to my local etc host file here. Okay. So what that does is it allows me to do some kind of recon on that. Now this is just for an example, right? So I can try a zone transfer on that address. So in order to do that, let's do it a different way this time. Let's use the Nmap scripts, right? The Nmap scripting engine to illustrate this zone transfer here. So I can do Nmap with a script flag and tell it the specific script we want to use. In this case, DNS zone transfer is the name of it. And we want to run this, of course, on port 53. And we want to run that on g.rootservers.net. And yeah, so you try and run that. And it looks like, hang on, I think we might need to give it the no ping flag here. And let's see, did I maybe give it the wrong IP? Let's just do this transfer again. So yeah, for the root servers, it was this IP address. But yeah, this video is actually getting quite long, longer than I anticipated. But that's okay. This is just the last part of it here. This is just kind of illustrating that you can also do these zone transfers, you know, in various different ways. If I can't get it, that's fine. I did get it before when I was demoing it, and it got it. It's a little finicky, it seems. But yeah, it basically gives you the same kind of information, just a zone transfer from that server. But really, to understand the gist of what's going on here is, this is what an unsuccessful zone transfer would look like. You wouldn't really get anything. What a successful zone transfer would look like, of course this is dig here, would be something like this. And then you can add that to your host file, you know, the new subdomains or whatever you find, and then you might find, then you can do an Nmap scan on that and see what's running, what ports are open on that, and yeah, you can just go from there. So that's how you use it in the context of CTFs. But yeah, this video is like 15 minutes long now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. Hopefully that was of help to you guys. I had a really hard time. I didn't know what the heck a zone transfer was when I first started pen testing. And it wasn't until quite a bit later that I learned. But definitely, as you see, not something you want to overlook, because that rabbit hole of whatever else you're working on, that might not even be, you know, that might waste so much of your time. Whereas if you just found the hidden subdomain, you would have been good to go. So yeah, hopefully this helps. No, it was long, but thanks for watching. If you stuck through to the end, let me know if there's any questions or comments down in the section below as always, and I will see you in the next video.